In part two of my epic adventure in Norway, I got up close and personal with reindeer and learned about the Indigenous Sami people of Norway. I also talk about witnessing the world's first ski tour adventure and accessibility in adventure travel. One of our activities with the Klattermusen Experience Tour was a Sami cultural dinner experience. I was really looking forward to this. They served us a traditional Sami meal in a tent called a lavu. It was so cool when I made the connection that I had seen this culture before. The Sami people are actually the people who inspired the indigenous people, the Natholdra people, in the Frozen 2 movie. The Sami people are known for being reindeer herders. They use reindeer for everything from making clothing with their hides and the fur to having reindeer stew like we had here. Y'all, I'm sorry, Rudolph, Prancer, Dancer. It was absolutely delicious. And with it being so cold, it hit the spot.
Meister.
Amaste. Cloudberries is another really traditional Nordic dessert. Ellen is the matriarch of the family, and she was so happy to show us some of the clothing made from reindeer hides and fur that she made for her son when he was a baby. It was fascinating to hear about her life as a young girl growing up in a traditional Sami village. And she told us stories, of course, about what happens to all other colonized people, how they were forced to assimilate, couldn't be who they were, couldn't be with their culture, and she was sent off to a boarding school. But eventually, she was able to reconnect with her family and her village and keep her traditions and her culture alive. Today, the Sami people are able to celebrate their culture, and they have a council that advises the Norwegian government. Elaine even graced us with a yoik, which is the traditional Sami song. As part of their tourism business, they have a reindeer herd that they use to pull carriages for tourists. And we had the privilege of meeting the reindeer herd and interacting with them up close and feeding them. Y'all, look at these crazy antlers. This does not look like any reindeer I've ever seen in any Christmas movie that I have ever watched. These antlers were wild. I was like, they look like tree trunks coming out of his head. It was
Just got
crazy.
the best shot. Perfect. Now, how did you do it? Did you
Very carefully.
standing next
Resilience,
to
I
another
would
person?
say, that's the key word.
Now, I'm not gonna front. I was a little bit terrified, a little bit. I'm still snow black. I love the animals, but these antlers were something else. But they're very careful around you and they know what they're doing. I was the last person to leave the pen. I actually almost got left behind. And what a jam packed first day between the snowshoeing, the ice pit, and then the reindeer, the Sami people. It's been a great trip so far. One of the special things about the Klattermusen Experiences tour company is their commitment to accessibility. In part one, I showed you Ywder, who was able to do a snow trek up to the mountain and ski down with the assistance of a team. And so he's actually the creative director for the brand. And I was able to get a little one on one time with him and talk to him a bit more. Good morning. We are here with my new friend, Ywder, and he is creative director for the Klattermusen Experiences brand. So how you doing, Ywder?
I'm doing great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so tell us a little bit about where you are originally from.
So I'm originally from the Netherlands. That's where I was born and raised. I traveled around the world quite a lot as a photographer. And now I'm all the way up north.
Awesome. Now, how did you get connected to the Klattermusen Experiences brand?
So I got to know Yanni a couple of years ago when she was volunteering for my girlfriend. She was organizing a big sub race, stand-up paddle race in the Netherlands, and Yanni worked there as a volunteer. And last year she had this new project what she was working on, which was Klattermusen experiences, and she was looking for people like photographers, videographers, graphic designers, social media managers, all that kind of stuff. And I was like, but this is like what I've done in the last 20 years, and surely you need someone to oversee everything and direct it in the right direction.
Right.
I was like, you need a creative director, and I'm the perfect match. So that's how it started.
Yeah. So you can tie it all together so everything's given the consistent message.
Exactly.
And so now we've done some adventuring a bit together on the mountain. So can you tell us a bit about what your new adventure was this week?
So one big goal that we had was make sure our trips are accessible, or at least see how accessible and inclusive we can make them. Because my accident is 4 years ago, and something that didn't change is being an outdoor person. I still want to go outdoor, and I still enjoy it as much as other people do. And I want to go on these trips as well. I want to be able to go on these trips. And it really got to a point where I was like, okay, but what is inclusion? And for me, through inclusion is when it's just a regular trip that everybody can book, but it doesn't really matter if you are in a wheelchair or not, or if you have certain challenges. It should almost be a natural thing that it's also possible to book a trip like that. So what we want to try to achieve, and I know it's a big challenge, and we'll see how far we can pull it off, but is that anybody in a wheelchair that would go on a trip with a friend or a partner could just book our trips, and there's no question if it's possible or not.
Yeah.
And I think that's true inclusion.
And I love that. So we did a little bit of experimenting trial run. So what did we do earlier this week?
So I started sit skiing last year, which I fell in love with. It's a big passion for me. But something that I had in mind was to go off-piste, go backcountry. And that's really challenging because normally you would hike up.
Okay.
And
And
like,
real quick, for people unfamiliar, can you just, what is sit skiing?
so sit skiing is basically, I have one ski underneath me, and I'm sitting in just like a big ski boot, basically. That's how you could probably describe it the best. It's a big ski boot where I fit in with my bum, and I sit in it, and that's how I go down the mountain.
Okay. And so with this, there's no lift, there is nothing mechanical to get you up to the top of the mountain. We had to use manpower.
Yeah. So you couldn't ask for more challenging conditions, but because it's very cold. We don't have so much daylight, so at some point it's going to be dark, and there's no lift, what you said, and all those ingredients just make it really hard. But apparently we really like a challenge, so we needed manpower. And Fred, our trip designer, he came with this great idea to ask some students. They have this great school here in Norway. It's an outdoor school that they do 1 year, and he asked those students to help out, and they were super excited. So he had like 8 students that were pulling me up the mountain, and that's basically how we did it.
Yeah. So I got to watch Ywder come down that mountain, and it was dark. The headlights were on. We were all cheering him on. How are you feeling in that moment?
Honestly, when I was on top of the mountain and it became really dark, I wasn't sure if I made the right decision.
Yeah.
If we should have turned around earlier.
Okay.
Because I was getting really cold. I started to shiver, and I really thought like this is bad. Like I'm not sure how I'm gonna go down. The top part of the mountain was quite icy. But at some point the snow started to become better, and I was really able to enjoy it. And then when I came down the mountain, there was something that I didn't expect. Like everybody was there, and I saw all the lights, shining at me, and
Yeah.
it was just a super warm welcome. And then I actually realized how special it was what we did,
Yeah.
because I think honestly my spinal cord injury is quite high. I have no hand function.
Okay.
My arm function is limited. I have obviously no trunk function and leg function. I think nobody has ever done this before.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Doing the
then
backcountry
yes,
skiing
and especially in these
in these
type
conditions.
of conditions,
And in the dark.
in the dark,
Above the Arctic Circle, might I add.
very cold. And I think when I came down with and saw all those people, then it really got to me.
Yeah.
It was really
Did you get
beautiful.
a little emotional?
Yes.
And I got to see Eager's partner, Mariah. She ran over to him. She
Yeah.
like clobbered you. And she was crying. She was so happy. Some other people were crying. I don't know who was cutting onions. I might have had a bit of water in my eyes too. I got some great shots of you, even though I know you were cold and it was difficult, but the joy did come through on your
Yeah,
face. You
it
could
was-
see how happy you were.
It was really cool to be able to actually inspire so many people,
Yeah.
because I think that's what it did.
It did. It's going to inspire a lot more people. So thank you for taking time to speak with me, Eager. And I look forward
you,
to
Lauren.
seeing what the rest of the experiences are going to look like. I've made a new friend.
Yes.
I appreciate it. So stay tuned for the rest of this amazing experience.
Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed part 2 of my Norway adventure. Come back for part 3, where we will get to see the northern lights and more scenic views and more fun snow adventures. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you don't miss a new episode.